Lionel and Patrick, what a pair, thinking outside the box. They don't play fair, unconventional ways, breaking all the rules, making their own path, never following the fools. Unconventional playbook, rewriting the game. Lionel and Patrick, they'll never be the same, dancing to their own beat in a world so plain. Unconventional playbook, they're here to entertain. Lionel's a dreamer with stars in his eyes. Patrick's a schemer with tricks in disguise. Together they're unstoppable, a force to be reckoned with. Their unconventional playbook, they'll never be second. Unconventional playbook, rewriting the game. Lionel and Patrick, they'll never be the same, dancing to their own beat in a world so plain. Unconventional playbook, they're here to entertain. Against all odds they stand tall, through highs and lows they never fall. Lionel and Patrick, a duo so rare, with their unconventional playbook, they're always there. Unconventional playbook, rewriting the game. Lionel and Patrick, they'll never be the same, dancing to their own beat in a world so plain. Unconventional playbook, they're here to entertain.
Powered by Riverside FM.
Welcome to another edition of Unconventional Playbook with my guy, Patrick Buchanan, in the house. It has been cut down day for the Minnesota Vikings, so we definitely going to get into that. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let's keep this thing growing. Over 17,000 subscribers, so we're growing every day about a minute. We appreciate all the love and support. Pat, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good, man. It's another week, I guess cuts were the last thing, and it's getting closer and closer to the 8th. So looking forward to that, man. But I'm doing good, chilling, relaxing, right? It's cooler days out, not too much hot and humid, but yeah, I'm good.
Man, that heat was tough. And then the big storm came in. We got a lot of storm here on the border of Wisconsin and Minnesota. It was a rough storm. I heard it was pretty rough down at the State Fair in St. Paul.
Yes, I guess it was concert Tuesday night. It didn't work out that well, or Monday night. So the storm Monday, yeah, but I'm glad it got south of us. Yeah, it came y'all way. It got south of us on Tuesday, so I'm happy. But expect some more tomorrow. So.
Yeah, there was also a storm brewing in Minnesota Vikings land in the coaches' offices. Those Tuesday cut days, those are not nice days. KOC mentioned it several times. It's not one of his favorite parts of the job, but he's got to do it. So you and I, we couldn't wait to get on the air tonight and just talk about the cuts. We weren't the first ones to get on the podcast and talk about the cuts because we really wanted to wait until the roster really got hammered out. They filled up the practice squad. They added 17 to the practice squad. Usually it's 16, but they had that international exemption with their tight end. So they were actually slotted 17 spots. So we're going to get into a little bit of everything tonight. There were some, I don't know what you would call it, Pat, some questionable cuts. There were some people that I know you and I talked about that we really wanted to stay. That didn't get an opportunity to stay, but they were added to the practice squad, like my guy, Bo Richter. But we're going to get into a lot of things tonight. I think probably the most notable cut was Kene Nwangwu, which everybody thought he had a great camp. I thought he had a great camp. He's been someone that's been, with the team for the past couple of years, and, he's been coming along, had a strong training camp, some strong preseason games. But I guess it wasn't enough for what the Minnesota Vikings wanted. So outside of the practice squad, they end up keeping 2 running backs. Again, that's not the practice squad included, but C.J. Ham and Aaron Jones. What were your thoughts when you saw that Kene got cut from the team?
Yeah, it was. Number one, I was shocked because I really thought he was healthy finally, and he was looking pretty good out there.
Yeah.
And, maybe like me, I thought they was resting bones in the third game, but because Gaskin was getting all the carries, right?
Yeah.
In the last preseason, but I guess they didn't want nothing to happen to him or something. I don't know, right? He had enough film. I thought that he was safe, right? But when I start that was one of them things that hit me because I was like, okay. And then when I started looking at the roster, right, I was like, man, they only kept 3 running backs, right, on a 53, and one is a fullback, right. But I started looking at the other positions, right. Number one, if you put Jaron Hall out there, the way he played the last 2, he was going to get picked up, right.
Yep.
Offensive line, you got to take care, put your 9 guys out there. But the defensive front, the defense is where they loaded up, right? And they kept 6 wide receivers, but they loaded up on the defensive end. Not defensive end, but the defense itself. And they kept more there than I think they would normally keep. So I think that put, what was more of a need, right? And, so I see why and where it happened. It shocked me, right? Just because you kept 3 quarterbacks, normally most people have 2, and they would have grabbed that extra one for the practice squad, right? So we went a different route, which I respected, right? You couldn't get rid of Jaron Hall. So I get it. That was tough for me. But I was happy, like him, like the players that got cut, because I thought Lewis Cine played 2 pretty good preseason games. But once again,
I agree with that.
Once again, that room is kind of thick, right? That you already got the top 3 guys that are always going to be out there: Metellus, Bynum, and Harris, right? And then you got Theo and Ward. So that I got it. I thought they would trade it, right? At least get something back for next year, right? I don't care if it was a 6th round pick, right? We need some more picks back in that year. So I thought they would have, but they let it go. That's tough. The Jets got them. I'm happy the young man gets a fresh start. I always believe in fresh starts, right? So I like that you get the fresh start. So him and my big ones was Kene, Lewis Cine, and Bo Richter, right? Everybody's heard me on this podcast. I'm a Bo Richter fan, right? But I'm happy we was able to bring him back. I mean, we've been talking about the first team, the second team, and the third team. We've really been talking about second team and third team all through training camp and how they've been performing out there on the field in the preseason games where they're dominating the other team, second team and third team. That just talked about depth. And that's why it was a storm, right, at TCO Stadium, right? Because to go through that and to make tough decisions. But I think how those players that got cut, you had great film, right? You got great film for someone else to go pick you up. And I don't think too many other guys that were in our camp, organization, 90 guys, are sitting out there on the street right now. Whether they got picked up somebody else practice squad or active roster, I think, guys did what they were supposed to do and get on tape. And that's part of the culture and organization over there, like making sure of taking care of people, right? So, it was.
I thought
it was some, hats off to them for their approach with doing it, because they are young men. They do have families. Some are young men, some are older men, whatever, but they do have families, but they gave them opportunity. And, I like, Coach, I've been like, here's something that I'm just throwing out there. Like, to be on a practice squad, you make like $400,000 with the seat.
Right.
Like, that's a pretty good dang salary.
Hey, I'll be a practice squad player for $400,000.
Like, I was looking at it like Dalvin Cook, right? Just signed with Dallas on the practice squad. My man is going to make from $400,000 to $500,000 a year. Yeah, man already made some money, right? You're still making that much money. You still get
and you're not taking the pounding, You're not taking the pounding,
right? You're pretty much a scout team defense, offense and defense. You're a scout team, right? But so it's so that, like, Kene was, like, I've been liking this guy since he was a rookie, and I saw his explosiveness. And I was talking to somebody today about it, and they was like, yeah, but he's like a one-trick pony, And I was thinking about it. He was like, yeah, he hit it, but he wasn't great in picking up blocks, right? He hit a hole, and you go back and look at some of the film. Some of the things he was talking about him are true, but didn't mean I still didn't dislike the young man,
Yeah. Well, Kene Nwangwu, I kind of agree with the statement that he was a one-trick pony, but he was developing in something else. And sometimes, it just takes a little bit of time with players to develop and to get to be multifaceted in their game. And I think Kene was on his way to doing that. I think Myles Gaskin and in his performance kind of made him expendable along with the quarterback spot in terms of roster spots. I thought we as a team went really edge rusher heavy,
Yeah.
because that is the staple of Brian Flores' defense. So I think he became expendable in that spot as well. You talked about on the last podcast the depth of the Minnesota Vikings, how much depth we had as a team. And here's something that's really peculiar about our practice squad team is that all of the guys that we signed on our practice squad were in-house guys. Like we didn't go out to other NFL teams and kind of poach their players. We knew what we had in-house.
Yeah.
We knew the talent that we had in-house. And not only did we bring them back, but these guys chose to come back. Here's what a lot of people don't know about practice squads is once you get waived from an NFL team, you could arguably, if they want you, you could go to any practice squad you want to go to in the NFL. You don't have to resign with the team that cut you. So this is that culture thing, Pat, that we always been taught. These guys want to be around this organization. They want to come back. You could argue that some of these guys probably could have went somewhere else and made a 53.
Yeah.
And they chose to possibly give up a 53 spot to come back and be a part of a great culture, a great thing here in Minnesota. And I thought that was something that was overlooked, man. I looked at all the practice squad guys that were coming back: Myles Gaskin, Dwayne McBride, Jashawn Jones, Lucky Jackson, Thayer Thomas. All these guys chose to come back here, and I think that speaks volumes about Kwesi and about KOC.
Oh, definitely. We were using it culture, right? And having opportunities and the relationships and walking in that building, and that always starts from the top at the wheels and work their way on down. That just tells you right there, especially when you look at the defensive guys, right? And me just to throw that out there, right? I don't want to dig into it at all, right? Like you're not about to paint a picture of who I am. And as a young man, 25-year-old young man, 25, 26, and Tua, you can't paint a picture of that man. That man's a grown man. And for those guys to want to come back and be a part of this team and be around B-Flow, that tells you right there about who he is as a person. That tells about the culture. But, these guys are back around, and that's good, right? That's good because if someone goes down, you've got to pull someone up. It's continuity. They know what's going on. They've been through it, right? They've been here, right, for a year or two. But the good part about it now is how they got, like, I think you can have like 9 guys that are rookie or second year players, but you could have that many veterans now, right? 7, 8 guys, right, that are veterans now in that practice squad. So that's great. I think that's the NFL developing and giving people opportunities, because sometimes it takes time to develop. It doesn't take 1 or 2 years. And sometimes you got to be down there for a little while, So yeah, I tip my hat off to him. KOC, Kwesi, B-Flow, because they all had their hats in this, and Daniels as well, because he might need some of these guys' special teams. You never know, right?
Yeah.
How that's going to evolve, which I'm so excited for all you special teams coaches to come out and show us what the kickoff return really looks like, right? I'm excited about that part of the game, man.
Yes, sir.
There's no more taking a snack break or a restroom break, for a kickoff no more. We got to see what they're about to do, and I think they're about to take that to another level. So yeah, how many teams do that, right? You're going to pick up.
That's very rare, man. It's really rare.
It's really rare, and that's just, tip hats off to them, and that's about building a championship, right, man? And people can look and say, quarterback this, quarterback that, or he's not there, whoever's not there. Like, you can say all them things, but what you really got to look at, who is here, right?
Yeah.
When year 3 and we look different, and you gotta, like, people got to keep going backwards. And this is what we got to remind our viewers, right? Is that you worry about a Darnold, or, you worry about a defense and whatever. Like, the before B-Flow got here, the last two defenses one under Zimmer and one under the person who I cannot remember his name, like the old man from Denver. That's all I know. They were horrible. They were
Yeah.
horrible. And now you got these younger cats that can play. That he went out and got the people that can play within his system. Like you said, you kind of kept a bunch of outside rushers, but like we talked about before, Brian Murphy was the oldest cornerback last year on this team, no longer, with 60 games under his belt. No longer. Like, I think right now we're in the, obviously, deeper in the hundreds of game experience, right, when it comes to cornerbacks. So I think that's big for it. And then you're youthful when it comes to your rushers, edge rushers, your backers, right, inside, outside backers, right? You're youthful there. So it's coach, I mean, people worry about the things, but then you got to start looking at what we do have, and then you're under this little umbrella of culture. And I'm glad we didn't have to we took care of the cornerback position that we got hurt at, but we didn't really have to go outside. We signed our free agents. We didn't, through the summer, we brought in 4 cornerbacks, and that was it. That's all we needed to do. We didn't have to go sign someone else, right? Dalton Reisner was coming back, right? Him and TJ Hawkinson will be back after the bye week, and that's fine because they got guys in there right now that can handle business. So I appreciate that they didn't have to go out. There's some teams that's out there just looking, and it was like, man, he's out there. I got to go get this. I got to get this.
Yeah.
But we didn't have to do that. It was internal. It was 3 years. Takes 3 to 5 years to really show the culture of a program.
Well, I think, the defensive coordinator that you're talking about was Ed Donatel.
Ed Donatel. There we go.
Yeah, he was supposed to be, kind of a defensive genius. He came from that Denver Broncos, zone scheme type defense, and it was a train wreck here in Minnesota. But I think you're right when you're talking about the quarterback room in terms of the Minnesota Vikings. Here's the stat that a lot of people don't know is that last year's squad, when you look at our secondary, those guys total had about 200 snaps as NFL cornerbacks, NFL players, that secondary. Now you look at our roster, now we've added some vets, vets that probably don't have that top end speed that they used to have when they're in their prime, but together they have over 455 snaps. So you've got guys that have played a lot of football back there. And not only that, the versatility up front in that front seven is going to cause a lot of havoc for offensive lines and quarterbacks. The way B-Flow likes to hide and scheme and make things look the same, but yet everything is so different. And, pretty much he can blitz from anywhere, within that defensive position, whether he brings safeties, whether he brings outside linebackers, he stunts the defensive tackles. This man is a genius. I call him a mad scientist. That term may be dead, but that's exactly what he is. And I think they put a premium on defense. I think they may have, sacrificed the things that they could sacrifice offensively without technically depleting the offense was good. And, and sometimes, man, you have some casualties like Kene Nwangwu. It's where you put your money in and where the premium is for the football team. And I think you saw a little bit of that with the 53-man roster. But they were, like you said earlier, they were able to keep some people around that they wanted to keep around on that practice squad and be able to develop those players for a year. And who knows, some of those players, as injuries occur and attrition occurs, they may be able to bring some of those players up throughout the season. As I go through the roster, Pat, I'm looking at each position. I don't think there was any shock about how the quarterback situation turned out, keeping Nick Mullins, keeping Jaron Hall. Do you expect any movement there when you talk about the quarterback position? Like right now, there's no drama with it, but do you feel like they stick with those three? Will they bring in a veteran? Like some quarterbacks have been cut now. There are some players out there where it may give the Vikings some options to improve that backup spot. Green Bay just improved their backup spot, by bringing in the quarterback from Nashville. So What do you think?
Uh, honestly, Coach, this this is an understatement. It's a blank understatement. Is
Yeah,
there's it's we can call it pressure, but we can call opportunity. This is just a big opportunity for Sam Darnold, right? And I don't think right
yeah,
now they're going to do anything, but the coaching mindset, the Wilf's mindset, Quasey's mindset is, we last year they could have just tanked, right? Got top pick in the draft, right? They could have
yeah,
tanked. They could have got Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, right? They could have just when Kirk Cousins went down and JJ was down, like they could have just tanked, but that wasn't their mindset. They were aggressive.
right.
So unless Sam Darnold gets injured or is not playing at a high level, I think they would be aggressive in that moment to go and do something, right?
Yep,
Then maybe some of the rumor mills that went out there might be aggression to do that, right? Because they're just not in the lose situation. Now, they could, knowing that they got JJ McCarthy sitting in the reins, like just take the hit if things aren't going well there. But I only think if Sam Darnold goes down or isn't really up to par playing, they might take a different approach because JJ McCarthy is there, right?
yeah,
And go
yeah,
get a high end pick. I don't see it just because that's not the mentality, right?
yeah.
That's just not the mentality inside the culture at TCO. So I don't think nothing's going to happen right now. But if something happens to go wrong back there during the season, you know,
Yeah.
I
I
I,
would
I don't see
I
him
would
sitting
love to
back, but
have
they do that JJ McCarthy. So
yeah, I would love to have a different backup this year. I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm done with the Nick Mullins experiment. I think he's serviceable for a game, but he just turns the ball over too much. I'm not quite sold that Jaron Hall is ready, but I'll be honest with you, man. I would rather see Jaron Hall as our number 2 than Nick Mullins as our number 2. I just think there's more of an upside there. I'm done with the Nick Mullins, and I think that um, if we roll with Sam Darnold, I'm hoping and praying that he stays healthy because I would rather for them to go down with the ship with Sam Darnold than to bring Nick Mullins in to even be any sort of spark plug. Like I just don't think he's that. I don't think he's that player. Um, the the Vikings chose to keep 2 running backs on the roster, 3 if you count C.J. Ham, being a fullback, Ty Chandler, and Aaron Jones. You good with that?
I would love one more, but I think Gaskin is going to be activated, right? I
Yeah,
think you can activate a practice player for 4 games or something like that. And you move him and McBride up and down and being able to activate them. Maybe they drop someone else down. Maybe
yeah,
someone else gets an IR somewhere and you can activate them. Because, I mean, as everyone's looking at this, here's the one thing that I don't think everybody understands. When Dalton Risner, well, let's forget about Dalton. When TJ Hawkinson gets healthy, they got to drop a player.
yeah,
They got to get rid of a player, right, to
yeah.
that active roster. So whether they send them down to the practice squad and get rid of a practice player, I mean, I don't. They got to maneuver when one or both of those guys come back if they want to activate them. I believe that we should have another running back up there, but you could if something happens, right? CJ can take over, right? So it's not like if something happens to Aaron and Ty that CJ can't take over. CJ can take over that spot. But I expect a 4th running back to be added to that, like Gaskin. I expect Gaskin to somehow be on the active roster, right? So
Yeah.
um I don't know how they're going to do it or whatever they're going to do it. Maybe they only suit up 2 quarterbacks. Maybe they sign them to the 53 and Jaron Hall gets moved down or whatever. I don't know what they're going to do, but I believe that there's going to be another running back pulled up. I don't believe you can walk into the game with that. Plus, Gaskin plays special teams, so I believe
Yeah.
he's going to get bumped up there.
No, it's too much attrition. I agree. They've got to, that running, especially when they're talking about running the football a lot more. That means more carries, more hits. They're going to have to have another insurance policy at that running back spot. As we slide down to the wide receiver spot, I don't think there's any surprises there. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor. Second team would be Brandon Powell, Tristan Jackson, Trent Sherfield. I got a couple of questions from some UPers out there about that third wide receiver spot. Should it be Naylor or should it be Tristan Jackson? What are your thoughts on that, Pat?
I think you're going to float them in there in different spots, right? Because like all the guys, like the one thing I know is that everyone has to learn all the positions, right? And there's sometimes where they'll go with the 4 wide receivers, but in 3 wide receiver sets, you can throw like, let's just say Tristan's great at this, like, and we're about to run this. So we want Addison, Tristan, and, JJ in there. Maybe it's being able to release JJ deep, right, and bring everything else underneath, right? But I also believe in the first 4 weeks, you're going to see more of 4 of them because TJ Hawkinson is out. I believe you're going to see more of a 4 wide receiver set than you do of a 3 just because TJ Hawkinson is out, and that brings that other weapon, right? Which now Tristan can play underneath, Addison, JJ, they all can do that, and you let Speedy get busy over the top. So I think you're going to see more of a 4 wide formation for us, just why he's out. But
if you had to name a 3, who would it be?
Question?
What's that?
I said, I know I didn't directly answer your question, so
yeah, because the UPers out there are going to be like, well, they like titles and they want that number 3 title. So if you had for me, I would take Naylor at number 3.
I'm going with Speedy until Tristan takes it away. Like I'm going with Speedy until Tristan takes it away.
Yeah, you can't teach speed. I mean, this is Naylor's time. He's been, on the injured list the majority of his career. This is really the first training camp. I heard a story that he put on about 9 pounds to help take some of the beating and stuff. And, it's helped him to stay healthy. But he's arguably the fastest Minnesota Viking, on the team. And so I don't think you can teach that speed, Pat. So, I mean, I would probably go with him at that number 3 spot.
Yeah, definitely. So I go with him, but like I'm still going through my explanation. Both of them will be out there just about as equal time, right? So, yeah. I mean, here's yeah. That's I'm gonna sit on that right there with you.
Okay. Slide down to the tight end spot. Obviously, TJ Hawkinson is on the physically unable to perform list, so he's a pup. They got on that first team Josh Oliver, Johnny Munt, and then the second tight end is Nick Muse. Any questions there? Any other moves out there that you would have made if you were in control of this situation? Did they make the right decision keeping the tight ends that they kept?
Yeah, 100%. They made it right. Oliver's still making money. We talked about they're gonna run the ball more. Oliver is a hell of a blocking tight end, right? But he can catch the ball as well. Like I feel like that's when, like that's the creativity. Everyone knows that Oliver's a blocking tight end, so bringing in that 21 personnel, right, is really going to be big, right? You bring the 2 tight ends in there and that 21 personnel, you play action out of that. That's advantage you, right? Because then they're going to go big when you're in the 21 with more linebackers on the field, less defensive backs. And so we know they can catch the ball. So I think it was important for the run game, right? I don't think they needed to go anything. Their every down back, tight end is coming back, and you could always throw Oliver out there with them in the 21 personnel. So there's nothing in the tight end because TJ Hawkinson be back.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot from the Vikings this year, especially if you got Hawkinson out and you got Jordan Addison out, whether or not he's able to come back from his injury or suspension or whatever. I think you're going to see a lot of 21 personnel. I also think you're going to see a lot of 22 personnel, 2 running backs in the backfield, C.J. Ham, Aaron Jones. They're putting a premium on trying to run the football, and I think they're going to try that early. I think it's going to keep some of these high-powered offensive teams off the field because the Vikings are going to be able to ball control. And they're going to be a unique team being able to do that. If you can ball control, not turn the ball over, and play defense, you're going to be a tough team to beat. And I think that's what KOC and B-Flow is aiming for.
Well, hopefully they are. So I was having conversations today, and, as I feel like they're going to be more at the run in the pass, someone says to me, and this is not a knock at you, KOC, right? I'll say it out loud. It was
Yeah,
like,
KOC, this is not a knock. Don't
this
get
is not
upset
a
at
knock
us.
on you because it's a good thing. He was like, I understand what you're talking about, right? Just let Sam Darnold get comfortable, run the ball out more. He was like, I don't know about no 50-50 or 55-40, maybe 60-40. He was like, KOC gonna pass the ball, right? So, KOC is very creative, and I know he's creating things and being creative. Those guys in that room, that coach's room, that offense coach's room, how to be creative, how to be more of. So, yeah, interesting to
Yeah.
see.
Probably the most intriguing part of any unit on the team was that offensive line, because you had a lot of people, and I think all the drama was kind of in the guard spot and who was going to be the backups. I think we had our right tackle is a staple. You got Brian O'Neill. Our center is a staple. You got Garrett Bradbury. We all know that he's going to be the center of the team. And you got the left tackle, Christian Darrisaw. But the question is, who plays guard? And I think the Reisner injury, where he's going to be out for he's on injured reserve, so he's going to be out for the first 4 games of the season. I think it helps guys like Blake Brandel, and then you have Ed Ingram. But backing those guys up is Walter Rouse, Michael Juergens, Dan Freeney, and then Quisenberry. And so, there was a lot of speculation that they may keep, other offensive linemen to back up our first 5 offensive linemen. But they kept the guys who they kept. Walter Rouse, I think, is an excellent tackle. Michael Juergens can play that guard spot. He can actually slip inside and play that center spot. So he has that versatility. Then you have Dan Freeney and Quisenberry. Any thoughts about the offensive line? It's going to be a really, really important part of the Minnesota Vikings team, especially if they're trying to run the ball a little bit more.
No, and I think Ed got some extra time out there as well, right? So the offensive line is what the offensive line is. Once again, we talk about depth.
Yeah.
Keeney and Gaskin ran the ball. So when you run the ball, that means you're physical up front. So those guys were physical, and they are serviceable if they're going to ever be needed, right?
Yep.
And it's perfectly fine. You got your 5 intact that have, the most of the chemistry, most of the snaps, right? Most of the games played. So when he talks about what we have in depth wise, but you got some guys that just, it's kind of like, I'm putting it in a basketball term, right? When really an alpha steps out there, right? You all join it, right? And Darrisaw's the alpha of that offensive line, and you got to be good around that, right? You got to surround greatness while being great, and I just think those guys, when needed, will be great, and you'll get them rotated in there. They'll get some clock and get some, and I think they'll be perfectly fine. You don't keep that around, knowing that it's taken 3 years to get that damn offensive line to where it's going to be at this year. Finally, we'll get to see it. It's taken a long while. I mean, we know our offensive line has been one of the biggest, like you talk about that, and cornerbacks have been our biggest, right, question marks. And I think this year is the first time we'll really see it in the KOC Kwesi era.
Yeah, hats off to KOC and Kwesi for all their decisions on the offensive side of the ball. They did a good job. They did a real, real good job. I think when you look at the defensive line, this was the part of the team that I was really, really excited about. We all know that Jerry Tillery, Harrison Phillips, Jonathan Bullard, they're kind of like the stalwarts of that defensive line team, but I'm really excited about the backup guys, man. Jalen Redmond, Taki Tamani, and my boy LDR. Those are some brothers, man, with some engines. I mean, they're tireless defensive linemen that are going to make plays. And probably everybody talks about the edge rushers, but the most important part of a blitz is being able to give that pressure up the middle to help those edge guys out. I mean, that disrupts everything. And so I thought the Minnesota Vikings really addressed that with all the defensive linemen that they decided to keep.
Definitely, because those guys got to be able to pick up 2, right? You really got to be able to draw 2 blockers to you so that you can let the other guys get loose. And I think there's physicality and toughness up there. I know the last game, they ran a little bit on us, right? They didn't go crazy, right? But they were
Right.
able to move the sticks a little bit, right? Always that bend don't break. Like I always believe in that. But, they got some nasty guys up front.
Yeah.
And they got some guys that are going to benefit from the outside rushers. And, you got toughness. You got, you're not, the Kevin Williams and Jerry Ball up there because that was your strength, right? The Williams wall, right? Pat Williams and Kevin Williams, right? And when we had Jerry Ball and stuff like that, big big guys up there.
Yeah.
But you got tough guys up there, right? And I like that. I like that they have tough guys up there, and that toughness is going to pay off, right? Because even if it doesn't show up on stat sheets and show up, when you go back and watch film, you're going to see how they were the key to make the plays happen at the next levels.
Yes.
Right? They're a big key to what happens at the next levels, right? Getting Jerry this offseason was great. And, it's the second unit, it's going to bring a little different energy out there, but that's the versatility that he wanted, where those guys are really going to be able to move around for him as well.
Yeah, agreed totally. I think the defensive line is going to be way better than it was last year. I mean, you got some guys with some motors. Sliding down to the offensive linebacker position, edge rusher, whatever you want to call them. I think this is probably the biggest strength of the defense. Van Ginkel is going to be absolutely fantastic. I think personally he may lead the team in tackles for loss this year. I went back and watched some of his film down in Miami. He's got a little twitch to him. He's got a little explosive to him. He's a ball hawk. He's always around the football. I think he's going to have the opportunity to make a real big impact for the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, you got Jonathan Grenard. You got D. Turner, who has a shot to be Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year this year. Definitely should be in the conversation. Jihad Ward and my guy Patrick Jones. Any surprises there? Anything you probably would have done different if you had the opportunity?
No, there's, like as the outside backers, the one person I like, they brought him back, right? But that was tough. Like you're trying to crack them four right there is real tough. Versatility is what I see out of that group right there. Like you said, I think that's the like last year it was our safeties, right? And now I think this year is going to be outside backers, and there's going to be times where you see all four of them out there. Right.
Yes.
And lined up, some down, some up, whatever.
NASCAR.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, right. Where you see that. And I agree with you with the Dallas Turner Rookie of the Year. Like, here's the thing that I think that people have to understand. Like, a lot of rookies played preseason a lot more snaps than Dallas Turner did, right? Across the league. They know what's in them. And they don't want to expose too much of what you're about to get exposed to, right? Yep. And I think we're all about to really get exposed to something special when you talk about him. But the specialness you're going to see is coming from the veterans around him. JG, like I said, we asked about Danielle Hunter and, Dallas Turner or, I said all these guys are going to get. So sacks are going to be spread out all around the place. Yeah. But I think maybe even more what's going to be more effective is the hurry up plays, right? The rush plays where this is where what we go into, right? Our secondary can get more takeaways from. I just think it's going to be spooky and scary. I'm excited. Like sometimes, like I'll sit and watch the Baltimore Ravens defense, right? That's just giving an example, like super aggressive, defensive coordinators where I'm like, dang, man, I wish we had a defense that flew around like that. Well, like when Zimmer first got here, we saw that, right?
Yes.
That in his first couple of years, we saw that. Then I don't know what happened. We're in B-Flow. We saw it last year, But now if you look at what has been added to this defense, I think half of the defense that made the roster has been added because those are molds that fit him. Those are veterans that were added, young veterans, 20-some-year-old edge rushers, right, and middle linebacker. But then, like, now you're going to see it, and I just think I just love defenses that fly around out there, right, and aren't scared of the offensive weapons, what offenses can do, right? You are pushing the wheel on them and not letting them dictate. You're more a dictator, and I love a defense that likes to dictate the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and address the whole Zimmer thing because I think you're absolutely right. I love defenses that fly around. I think Zimmer, he was a great offensive coach. I think his last couple of years in Minnesota, two things happened to him. He was loyal to guys that were getting too old. Like he didn't refresh the pot, and I think his loyalty was his undoing. And then he just had a rash of injuries. So when you have injuries and you have old guys, your defense can't be what it's going to be. He's even doing the same thing in Dallas where he's bringing in a lot of vets on the defensive side of the ball, guys that, he had before. And I don't know how well that's going to work out for Zimmer, but that's his thing. Yet now, like you, B-Flow is, I'm not mad at Tua because I think Tua has really screwed him out of maybe some future jobs, at least in the short term. But I'm not mad at him because I think he's going to build a bully here in Minnesota. And this year, I don't think he's got the complete package of what he wants, but I think he's got like about 90% of what he wants compared to what – I mean, he had Ed Donatel's guys last year, and he turned that into something really special. Their defense was ranked 16th in the league in total yards. And people think they faltered down the stretch when they were on the field 80% of the game.
Didn't they go from 32 to 16? He cut it in half. Well, what do you think he can do with his guys now? With guys
they're going to see it, Pat. They're going to see it this year.
Yeah.
They're going to see it this year. So I'm not mad at Tua. Keep talking about my guy, B-Flow. Then you got the middle linebacker spot. You got Ivan Pace, and you got Blake Cashman. Nice pickup for the Minnesota Vikings. And you got Brian Asamoah, who you predicted would make the team, who had a stellar preseason. And then you got Gruger Hill. So the inside linebacker spot seems to be solid. Any thoughts about that?
No, it's a smart with Ivan Pace and Cashman. They're super smart, right? You got Hill and Asamoah who got the versatility, but you got the smarts of it with Cashman and Ivan Pace. So that's important. They're going to wear the green dots, right? Cashman and Pace. So they're the key to calling everything, within the defense. And here's my prediction is that Ivan Pace Jr. will be a Pro Bowler this year.
Agreed.
Ivan Pace will be a Pro Bowler. Without a doubt, he'll be a Pro Bowler. Like, he's going to another level as an undrafted, and he will be on that field a lot. So he might be the one of the middles, right? I know Cashman's here. I think Cashman's going to be on here, right, 70% of the time, right? But I think you're going to see Pace on that field 90% of the time, and causing havoc, right? And being able to come at you, like Ivan Pace can come at you a lot of different ways. I think like he was he the leading tackler for us last year, right? Like he was close. Yeah. I mean, he has a nose for the ball and he brings it, right?
Yeah.
So it's a fantastic for youthful, right? Young, athletic, right? It's like we always remember when we got Barr and Hendrickson. So when we got those guys, it was youth, right? Coming out of, UCLA and stuff like that. So it's great to have youth back there, not too much long in the tooth, right? So I love guys 26 and younger back there in that back at the linebacker position, right? It always reminds me, like, I'll say it over and over. Baltimore, I don't think people produce like Baltimore and the Steelers produce fantastic linebackers. And with our 3-4 We have fantastic linebackers, right? Our
Yep.
four are fantastic. Who you put across that four, if you looking across, the offense, you like, man, your eyes is like this. What they about to do, right? What they
Yeah.
about to do,
Yeah.
right? So, and it's and with this as well, I think it's the most versatile defense in the NFC North. Right?
Agreed.
There's some good defenses. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, right? Detroit has a great, but they're not structured the way we are and as versatile, as we are. So that linebacker crew is,
Yeah.
We'll just let the games be played, I guess.
Yeah. Another unit that I'm really, really excited about. I wasn't excited when this whole thing first started because obviously we had the tragedy and then we had the injury and then we were just trying to piece some things together. And I always said, Byron Murphy, who I really, really like a lot. Like I think Byron Murphy can ball. I just don't think Byron Murphy can be, your number one cornerback. Like I just didn't think that, and so the Minnesota Vikings went out and they addressed the secondary. The secondary pack could have ended up a lot worse, and it didn't. They went out and signed it a stud in Stephon Gilmore, and Shaquille Griffin has been hurt pretty much all pre-camp, dealing with the hammy, but he's going to be ready to go a couple of Sundays from now. Then you got Byron Murphy Jr., who is now your third quarterback. Call him your third quarterback, slot cornerback, whatever you want to call him. Then you got Dwight McGlothern, who a lot of people, if you would have said, is this kid going to make the team? Probably people thought he was going to be a practice squad guy. He made the team. And that says something about that young man coming out in a position that is a premium for the Minnesota Vikings and showing enough to the coaches for him not to be on that practice squad, but to make the 53. And I'm going to go out on a limb, Pat. I'm going to say in the next 3 years, this young man might be cornerback number one on this team, barring them going out and getting another, superstar veteran free agent. They're going to have a lot of money under the cap. I just think McGlothern is going to be fantastic. They picked up Fabian Moreau and they kept a Caleb Evans. I think the secondary, I'm not going to say that it's the best in the league, but where it started off at before training camp and into training camp, there were a lot of question marks. I think KOC and B-Flow did a great job of putting things together to make this a solid group.
Oh, 100%. Like you're talking about, you got two different new starting cornerbacks last year that didn't start for us, right? You're already there, and then the best cornerback we had last year gets to move to the nickel, right? So,
yeah.
And then McGlothern, I agree with you, but I'm gonna even take a step further.
Okay.
Next year.
Okay.
Because I don't know if Gilmore's still going to be here. So I'm saying next year, right?
Yeah.
And because Byron's going to do so great in the nickel, you keep him there, then you move McGlothern on the outside, right? So I'm just, the crystal ball is moving. Seeing it. So
the only reason why I have trouble with the next year take is the Vikings got a lot of this next year, and they could go out and get somebody that is a all-pro number one veteran quarterback with the money that they have. Now, if they don't do that, I'm in step with you all the way, Pat. I'm in step with you all the way.
I think that money's going to be on the offensive line. I'm just being honest with you. I think that money's going to be on the offensive line. Just to get, some more, nothing's wrong with the offense, but if you have an opportunity to get better in the situation, you're going to get better. That's how I put it. So, Evans, right? He's young, but he wasn't great this preseason, right?
No.
He was not great. So, if there would have been a cut in him and going to pick up something, I wouldn't have been, and that's not against him, but he showed he's not been good this preseason compared to where he ended the season, right? So he's I don't know, he got comfortable, and he hasn't shown what like Jaron Hall has when you brought Matt in, right? Jaron Hall just started balling, right? This guy you done brought in these corners, like Here's the thing: the cornerback room looks a lot better. It just looks a lot better. You talk about Booth is out of here. Whoever the guy we traded with Booth, he got cut, right?
Yeah.
So you in your defensive backs, you only got two guys that was on the roster last year in the cornerback position. Only two guys that was on the roster.
455 snaps in that secondary room. That's a lot. That's a lot of experience on that field. That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah,
Safety spot. We got the hit man, of course. We got Cameron Bynum and my guy Josh Metellus backing them up. We got Jay Ward and Theo Jackson. I have no problem with that safety room. My only thing is we've got to get Cam Beasley moneyed up. Like we've got to work on his contract, get him locked up. You know, you don't want him playing until his last year, and he has the ability to go somewhere else. I think we got to get it done early with him because he could have a fantastic year, and now that price goes up. So I'm hoping the Vikings can get something with him done.
They might get it done within this next, 2 weeks that they got right here. So
I hope so.
I wouldn't be shocked at that. Anybody be shocked at that. He's gonna get locked up, right? There's. I know he likes to put multiple out there, but who I'm not worried about the big three, right? I'm gonna call them the big three, right? Martellus, right?
Yep.
Bynum and Hitman. So that's the big three. Like how he'll use Ward and Theo. I want to see those guys out there, and I really want to see what they're able to bring, because the part that the reality we got to come to is like Hitman he's at the door, he's knocking at the door to be done. So
right.
That's what I am like. I think Martellus, even if Hitman's gone next year, Martellus will still be that, Swiss Army knife, right? Now, who can step into that spot? Like, I know they love both of them, Theo Johnson and Ward, right? And it's which one, I want to see which one can step up to become that guy to truly replace him.
Right.
If needed to be. But like I said, that was our strength last year, was our safeties. They're ranked some of the top safeties in the league when you talk about the trio. So that was the strength of our defense last year. They become number 2 or number 3 now because the cornerbacks you got. So they don't have to, they can be that great. And now you're better up front in your 7 and your cornerbacks. That's where I say the team jumped that far with the personnel they had. Safeties were the strength, and now your edge rushers are your strength, and you're better at the corner spot. Y'all can evaluate it how you want to. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting thing. Again, you just don't know what B-Flow can do because he's got these guys playing in different spots. And so it's going to be interesting to see what unit is the strongest. I agree with you 100%. I thought the safety unit last year was the unit, but now you're adding something that is tied in with that safety spot with the corners, man. And I think that's going to make that secondary stronger. Man, I'm telling you, the Vikings, I know people don't agree with me about this. I've talked to guys on campus. I talked to other Minnesota Viking fans, other podcasters, and people that just pay attention to the Vikings. I've been saying all along that the Vikings are going to be a top 10 defense. And I think that could be the low end. I'm not saying they're going to be the best in the league, but I think with their aggressiveness, the coaching, and barring them staying healthy, I think the Vikings defense is going to be tough to deal with, man. It's just going to be tough to deal with.
Yeah, it's what we get a chance to hang our hat on, right? We're going to be able to hang our hat on that, and getting them rest, right? Back in the Zimmerman days, it's all about rushing football, running football, get them rest, get them rest. I think this is a defense that can be able to, where some, mistakes happen on the offensive end, where they're going to be able to come out there. They're so deep, and they can rotate guys in there within this system because of the way this system is. A traditional 4-3 system where you're you really don't have a big rotation, I would worry with us trying to figure out stuff with Darnold. But with this one, he's going to be able to take more risk on the offensive side because he can lean on this defense. That's what I believe.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Totally agree with that. And then the kicking position, we got your guy Will Reichert from Alabama. And then Ryan Wright, who will be the punter. I think they're pretty solid on those. I think Will Reichert is definitely a luxury. If he can be as consistent as he was in college and in preseason and the regular season, I think we've got something there.
Oh yeah, I think the guy's going to get 3 to 4 opportunities to kick a game, right?
Yeah.
And if he capitalizes on all 3 or 4, right? You say 3, that's 9 points, right? You say 4, that's 12 points, right? That's
Yep.
and then if we can, somehow find a way at least twice to get into an end zone, right? You say that's 14 points and he got 3 field goals, right?
Yep.
I mean, do the math. Scoring in the mid-20s is a pretty damn good thing if you can have a defense that is in the top 10 where their scoring defense maybe is, 16 points a game, then those are W's right there.
Yeah. So I think the Vikings did a really good job, with their 53. Obviously, throughout the course of the season, there's going to be moves that have to be made. Guys may be brought up and, down the practice squad and people get injured. So this team, the way it looks now, probably won't be the team that ends the season. But initially, their initial 53-man roster and who they were able to bring back on the practice squad, I think Kwesi and the crew did a really, really good job for the Minnesota Vikings. Pat, the one thing I wanted to talk to you about before we get off here, because I know we have to prepare for the next show, because that's when you're going to be talking about what the Vikings record is going to be for the year. I know a lot of people are waiting for that, but I wanted to hit you with this. There was something came out on The Athletic. I don't know if you pay attention to The Athletic, but they put quarterbacks in tiers, and they had our guy, Sam Darnold, as a 4th-tier quarterback. And I really didn't have problem with the tiers until I started looking at the list. And I just wanted to we can go into it more in depth in another show, but I just wanted to initially talk to you about just where Sam Darnold was placed. He was placed at 29. Now, this excludes all the rookie quarterbacks in the league. So there were 30 quarterbacks that were ranked in tiers, and Sam Darnold was ranked 29. So the second worst starting quarterback in the league this year. Your thoughts?
Houston Texans were picked last in their division last year, and they won their division, right?
Yep.
It's a projection. The Vikings are finished projected at 3rd or last in this division. I'm not going to run away from it because Sam Darnold did not start last year.
Yep.
The last time Sam Darnold was on the field, he wasn't a top.
He's with the Carolina Panthers.
Right, and he wasn't whatever. So I'm not going to run away from it. If I'm like me, you and I are both the same, right? And I kind of got that from you more than I did from Willie. I love motivating. I love finding articles, right? As a coach, I'd find something. If I had to walk in the locker room and lie to my team, motivation. Like if I'm Sam Darnold, if your DNA moves differently than Kirk Cousins, that's motivation, and that propels your performance as well as the contract you're playing for. So I can't disagree with the Athletic in that sense. Not saying I don't believe, because based off of last year, he was a backup quarterback. So in the last time he was on the field with the Carolina Panthers. So I don't even want to dig deep into it. I would love to come back and look at this list in 3 different segments, right? So it's a 17-game season. So if we go, 6-6-5, then let's look at it, right? Or go 5-5. You know what I mean? So we can go 6-6-5 and look at it. 6'6", 6'7", look at 6'5", and look at it, and let's just see where he is. So let's look at the first 6 games. Let's look at the next 6 games. Then let's look at not the next 5 games, and then let's see how that gets moved around.
Yeah, see, I like to dig because I'm always intrigued how other people think and other people's perspectives. I think that's what our society is all about, whether it's politics, whether it's talking about sports. No matter if you get a bunch of people in the room, the old saying always goes, if you get 20 coaches in the room and you have to game plan for a team, you're going to have 20 different game plans. And so again, I don't mind that he's ranked in the 4th tier. He's a 4th tier quarterback because I think you're right. He hasn't done anything for me to be able to advocate for him to be any higher, but I'm just intrigued at the quarterbacks that's ranked ahead of him. So for people out there that are not aware of the article in The Athletic, the only quarterback that was ranked lower than Sam Darnold was Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett was number 30. Now, Jacoby Brissett has been a journeyman quarterback, but he has accomplished some things in this league. So I think even having him at 30 is kind of crazy. But they had Jacoby Brissett at 30, Sam Darnold at 29, Pat. And then 28, they had Bryce Young at 28. They had Will Levis tied at 26 with Anthony Richardson. Then you go 25, Gardner Minshew, 24, Justin Fields, and then 23, Daniel Jones. That's the 4th tier. That's the 4th tier.
This tier, I don't even know what they thought. Like, what did they get into it? Just because, like, I was okay blind looking at it, right? But your Anthony Richardson in his first 3 games showed that he's really good, right? That he played. But this is so then I can sit and say, okay, like Sam Darnold didn't play last year, right?
Yep.
Anthony Richardson got hurt, right? Bryce Young didn't have weapons, but he looked horrible. But here's what I will say. This is how biased The Athletic is. Gardner Minshew, when Anthony Richardson went down, was way more better than Daniel Jones.
Yes. That's why I'm always intrigued by this stuff, man.
Like that's Gardner's Minshew's last year, because what are you going off of? You got to obviously be going off of last year because Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young were rookies, right?
Yep.
So if you're going off of last year, Gardner Minshew was a top 15 quarterback.
Yes.
So you ain't got to keep telling me, Coach. I don't want to listen to what they did.
Now listen.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna give you one more tier, and then I'm gonna stop at tier 3. I'm gonna stop at tier 3 because I think everybody kind of agrees on where tier 1, tier 2. The controversy is in tier 3 and tier 4. So I'm gonna go into tier 3. Tier 3 at number 22 is Russell Wilson. Then tied for number 20 is Geno Smith and Derek Carr. At number 19, you got Baker Mayfield. At number 18, you got Deshaun Watson. At number 17, you got Kyler Murray. At number 16, you got Trevor Lawrence. And number 15, you got Tua Tagovailoa. That's the Athletic. Now, again,
Coach, number one, if you about to tell me that Kirk Cousins, who got injured last year and playing 5, is in the top 15.
I knew you were going to go.
That's why you said it, because you knew where I was going to go with it. I know you know, because I was sitting there waiting to hear Kirk's name in the 20s, right?
Yep.
So to say that he was ahead of Tua, the year that Tua had, the year that Geno had, the year that Baker Mayfield had.
Yeah, but I think with some of these quarterbacks, they take in consideration their overall body of work, and with other quarterbacks, they don't take into consideration their overall body of work. I think that's where Kirk Cousins is getting a nod. Kirk Cousins throws for over 4,000 yards every year, man.
Okay, but so Tua, one of the leading passers, right in there, and like I'm sorry, offensively, I don't look at the team, but look at Tua's stats, right?
Right.
Look at Baker Mayfield's stats last year. Look at Geno's stats, right? Geno
Yep.
over the last 2 years has been phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
Has, in my opinion, been a top 15 quarterback, right?
Yeah.
So Tua over the last 2 years has been a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't understand.
Where do you think Kirk Cousins is ranked? Obviously, he's either in tier 2 or tier 1. Where do you think he falls? What number? I stopped at 15, so he's got to be higher than 15.
It's already blowing me away. So, I mean, let's just say Kirk Cousins is number 14. He's got to be number 14, coach.
He's not 14. Jordan Love is 14.
All right, we done. I mean, to answer, we're not. Okay,
Yeah.
Jordan Love only played 8 games and did it, whatever, looked at it. Okay, is Kirk Cousins number 11?
No, Kirk Cousins is number 13 ahead of Jordan Love. Hey, listen, man. That's just a little fun way to end the show.
Yes, it is. Look, that's how you fire me up before you can't talk about Kirk Cousins to me, right? Oh man, this dude, Kirk Cousins, man.
These articles, man, are just really, really intriguing the way people think. Obviously, Pat Mahomes is number 1. He's in tier 1. Joe Burrow is in tier 1, and Josh Allen is in tier 1. I would put
Josh Allen right there.
I would put Lamar Jackson there.
Not Lamar Jackson, just not even happening, right?
Yeah.
Like I could put Jalen Hurts in that tier as well before Josh Allen. Then Josh Allen can come in, right? But I'm putting Hurts and Lamar Jackson with Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow.
Yeah. Yeah, Jalen Hurts is number 11, man.
They need to burn that. They need to burn that. No offense to you, but
he's just ahead of Brock Purdy.
What I need to know is what went into that. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, well, they have, little captions. They're not going to go into depth, but tier 2, they said a tier 2 quarterback can carry his team sometimes, but not as consistently as a tier 1 guy. He can handle pure passing situations in doses, or possesses other dimensions that are special enough to elevate him above tier 3.
Okay, that's
he has a hole or two in his game.
So what's the cutoff from tier 1 to tier 2? What number?
3. 4 is tier 2. 3 is tier 1.
No. What ranked player starts tier 2?
Lamar Jackson. He's number 4.
And where's that tier 2 end?
Tier 2 ends. Let's see. Jordan Love, 14.
So tier 1 is only 3 guys.
3 guys. Yep. Allen, Burrow, and Mahomes.
What makes them think that Josh Allen is a tier 1 quarterback?
Well, listen to what the definition is of a tier 1 quarterback, and this may tell you. It says a tier 1 quarterback a tier 1 quarterback can carry his team each week. The team wins because of him. He expertly handles pure passing situations. He has no real holes in his game. Now, I'll buy that with Mahomes and Burrows. I don't buy that with Josh Allen.
Not at all buy that with Josh Allen. So then you're all right. I'm done. We'll keep it to myself.
Oh, well, again, Vikings did a great job with the 53. We wanted to get on here and discuss the 53. Just a little fun way to end.
Fantastic job, Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, a great episode of Unconventional Playbook. We're going to be back on here. Today is Wednesday, probably on Friday, Saturday. We'll get some uploaded with Pat and I. We're going to talk about the season. We're going to go through the schedule. We're going to have the schedule posted as a graphic, and we're going to go through it. Not only is Pat going to go through it, I'm not going to, leave Pat out there. I got his back. I'm going to be doing the same thing. We're just going to be going down the line, picking games. at the end of this thing, I'm gonna have a record for the Minnesota Vikings. Pat's gonna have a record for the Minnesota Vikings, and at the end of the season, we're gonna see, who got the games right and who got the closest to what the record end up being. This is gonna be very hard for me, but I'm looking at this from a lot of different angles. So I'm interested to see how you're gonna come at it, Pat.
I'm gonna look at every team, and I'm gonna look at storylines and organizational situations as well as personnel.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, listen, I know, we've got a lot of you peers out there that are big time Minnesota Viking fans. Don't be mad at us.
Yeah.
We're gonna come at it from a neutral standpoint. We're gonna try to take the fan out of it. Sarah, don't be mad at us. we gonna try to do this thing the right way and come up with what their record going to be. Pat, you have anything else left to say to UP Nation?
Nah, man, everybody, right? This is the dead time. So, pick up, watch some Lynx, watch some Twins right now. They're both in great positions when it comes to getting ready for the postseason. So just watch them right now until the 8th comes around, and then it gets busy. So make sure you're watching them and watching the UP.
Yeah, this has been Unconventional Playbook. Again, we love the love and support. Keep hitting that like and subscribe button. This has been Patrick Buchanan and Lionel Jones, your hosts, and we will make sure to see you when we see you. Latre, take us home, man.
I don't know who I am. Can I say I'm a man? Am I losing my mind? Am I wasting my time? Do I know who I am?